Minister of Labor also addressed the audience, pointing out the presence of Reverend C.B. Moss, also an honoree who is on the mend after a recent medical scare. As we reported earlier, Bell touted efforts of the Davis administration, including the signing of 18 industrial agreements, salary increases in various public sector agreements, and the signing of a 3-year agreement to increase allowance and salary scales through a $40 million industrial agreement. And following the budget communication in the House of Assembly on Wednesday, feedback coming in from a number of advocates who remain excited for the funding proposed to combat domestic violence. Amidst ongoing concerns of increased domestic violence in the country, Prime Minister the Honorable Philip Davis, during his budget address, outlined plans to increase protection for this vulnerable group.
We have allocated funding to build a women's shelter, and we are increasing legal aid support for victims of domestic violence. Both within the social services framework and with a victim care fund within the Office of the Judiciary.
A step in the right direction. Advocates opposing domestic abuse applauding the government for its commitment to assisting those affected by the issue.
It's a wonderful gesture on behalf of the government. There are many women and children who suffer from domestic violence or living with domestic violence. And many of them are in urgent need of some kind of intervention.
It's time now for lights, camera. It's time now for action. We need to see action now. We don't need no more consulting. We don't need to have no more round tables. The government know who is out there, who been in the field, who on the grounds, who advocating for protection of women, female shelters.
Candy Gibson, director of NGO Families of All Murdered Victims, or FOAM, and Cleopatra Christie, administrator at the Bahamas Crisis Center, say this recent announcement paves the way for increased protection. Christie also sharing her thoughts on the announcement and the impact the government facilitated funding will have on those seeking to escape abusive conditions.
Many families, women, children, and their children, who are at risk, need to be protected, and they would need the assistance of the court. So they would go to court for a protection order if they are at risk with their partners or in the relationship they're in. They may require a legal separation. That means that they want to bring an end to the living arrangement. The marriage is still in place, but at least it is an order of the court that allows them to live separate and apart. And or there's the divorce, the final steps that women can take in these abusive relationships.
During the previous budget cycle, the government announced a similar plan. However, Gibson is hoping for further momentum and support.
There are a lot of persons on the ground doing the work and don't even get paid $1 for it. So we're asking, in the midst of them allocating these funds, make sure there's some subvention funds for persons who are out there already doing the work and who's already housing person in their safe space to create a safer space for them.